as time flies by, you'll open up your eyes wide. You feel it's gonna go your way. Hey, hey, it's a brand new day. Hey, 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 it's a brand new day.
Marbella's a perfect place because you just never know who you're going to meet. And thanks to Elendil Diaz, who is an amazing performer. He's just a very talented, musically minded gentleman who also owns the Rio Padron recording studios in Estepona. Well, thanks to Elendil, I met this gentleman. His name is James, and the reason he's here today is because we're going to be talking about orchids, and the excitement behind it is because James wrote to me saying orchids are not only intelligent, but they're probably the best con artist that nature has to offer. So with an introduction like that, James, I mean,
where's the story go?
I know, it sounds fascinating. So welcome
well,
to the show.
just let me explain why I got into the story, because I mean, I'm billed as an expert. I'm not an expert. I'm just an enthusiast. I'm an orchid enthusiast. And what happened to me some months ago, because in Estepona we've now got a new centre, which is an orchidarium. And it's a very spectacular place. Many people will have probably seen it. Curious structure. And so I actually went in there just to have a look round. I wasn't that bothered about, you know, learning about orchids. But I bumped into the dude who actually sorted the place out. It was his concept, and he actually persuaded the town hall to do it. Did the whole thing. And I bumped into him inside the place and got talking to him about orchids. And what he said was, the first thing he said was, well, because I'm saying, well, you know, what is it about orchids? What is it? What it loves? I know they're beautiful flowers, but is there more? Oh, yes, he says. What is it? Well, he says, for a start, he says, did you know that the orchid is the world's #1 most successful flowering plant? Oh, really? Over 30,000 varieties across the world. Ah, I didn't know that, right. So my first question immediately was, well, so what have you got to do to be the world's #1? And that's when it started. Then I got the guy telling me some really amazing stories about bloody orchids. They're incredible. They're total con artists and they're super intelligent. So I was, you know, I was mesmerized by all this. In fact, to the point where I've actually persuaded him, because there isn't a guide for the orchid house, so I'm now creating an app where he actually is going around, and I think we're doing about 14 different flowers as you go around the place, and explaining what each one of these flowers does. It's all about cross-pollination. And they've all got a trick. They've all got an amazing trick. What people don't know about orchids is, unlike most flowers, they actually select the pollinator. Now, normally a flower just gets lucky, something comes along, goes in, da-da-da-da, and cross-pollinate. Not the orchid. The orchid actually selects some beast, a bird or a beetle or whatever it is, and then they actually organise to entice this particular pollinator, trick it, super brilliant tricks they get up to. So what I've got Manuel Lucas is the guy, I've got him going around the place and explaining some of these stories.
So each orchid within this amazingly varied species has its own trick, or does within an orchid it decides itself how it's going to adapt?
There's as many tricks as there are orchids. I mean, the one thing they've all got in common is they all basically, it's like a sort of landing platform. One of the leaves, they've all got the same particular leaf. It's called a labellum, it's the lower leaf, and that's where they attract the pollinators to come. So that
gives them somewhere to sit and to rest.
Well, it gives them whatever. No, well, let me explain. There's lots of different things that happen, and I think a very good way to explain exactly how clever these flowers are is to actually, let's do a role play. All right, you don't mind a bit of role play?
No, let's go for it.
And I'm going to be an orchid, so you're going to interview an orchid, right? And the orchid that I've chosen to actually use, is the reason I've chosen it is because it's endemic to southern Spain. If you go into the Campo North of Malaga, heaving with this particular flower. It's called an ophrys, right? And I'm going to tell you the story of the ophrys, right? But I'm going to be the ophrys. So you're now going to interview an ophrys.
Well, it's very nice to meet you. I've never actually interviewed an orchid.
Well, here you go.
It's a pleasure. and you are apparently very intelligent and also a
Well,
little
I'm
bit
going
of
to
a con
explain
artist.
to you just what we get up to, right? Now, the thing is, what we did, we officers, we selected a particular type of bee as our pollinator. So then we got together to actually make sure that these bees came along and did the business with us, right? And our trick is called pseudo-copulation. That's right.
Explain yourself, please.
Pseudo-copulation. Well, this is what we do. This is our trick, right? And what happens is this. It's not that complicated, right? Because these particular bees are very simple creatures, and what the male does, first of all, it has to see a bee, see a female. Females are a very distinct shape. So what we did, well, what my ancestors did, we've got the labellum. Now, you might wonder how the hell we did this, but we did it, right? And what we have got in our lower leaf, in our lower petal, we've created the shape of a female bee. And it's absolutely stunning. You should see it. Bee. So the guy, the male, actually sees, right, there's a female, right. But then the second thing is that if the female's on heat, it actually emits what's called a pheromone. A pheromone is a smell, right, which the smell tells the male that the girl's ready to go, right? So of course this was a bit more complicated for my ancestors because what we had to do was create the stuff, right? We've got to be able to squirt out the smell as well as have the picture, right? But that wasn't a problem. Now this particular chemical, the pheromone, is made up of a number, it's a quite complex chemical to make. So how did we do it? Incredible. Well, what we've got this deal going, right? We've got this deal going with this Irish dude who lives in the soil, right? He's called Mike O'Roysel, right? And Mike, in fact, his full name is Mike O'Roysel Fungus, right? And he's in the soil. And we've got the deal with him. And what happens is, basically, because I'm up there doing this thing called photosynthesis, and I'm creating this incredible energy drink called glucose, right, out of the sun's energy. And what I do with the dude is I give him some of my energy, and in return he brings me whatever I want. So of course all those years ago what we did was we analysed the smell, worked out the different chemicals we needed, and we told the boy to go and get the stuff, right, and how he brought it to us, right.
Amazing what teamwork can do, all these elements joining together.
Well, this particular fungus, Mike, he's actually quite famous. He's in the Guinness Book of Records because he has been spotted as being the world's largest living organism. There's one of his species in Oregon that they found not long ago, and it's covering, wait for it, 2,400 acres. Right? Because what they do, these guys, is they put out all these tubes, right, called hyphae. And all these tubes are basically, they're delivery tubes because they go into the soil all over the place. For instance, what I've also got going with Mike is that he gives me, I need about 30 nutrients, right? And he brings all the nutrients to me via his tubes. And he knows what, I can tell him what I want and he goes and gets it. It's incredible because I can't go directly into the soil and get it myself, but it's all there in the soil. So he gets it for me. So we've got this incredible deal going with this guy. So he's the one who got me all the chemicals to make the smell, right? But I've also got a little, just up here, I've got a little chemistry lab. So I was able to put it together and I've made an exact copy of the smell that the bee produces. And of course, when the male buzzes around, poof, I blow it out and in he comes. I've also made my little story tactile as well. Because not only do they see the female, what I did with the end of my leaves, I made them all furry. So that when he lands, it feels like a female bee.
Smells like it, smells like it.
It does it all, baby. So of course he comes and he does the business. And where he lands, I've got this sort of pollen core where he's actually getting covered in pollen. So then of course off he goes to the next flower and cross-pollinates.
Absolutely fascinating. Somebody who never thought of orchids before walks into the orchid place that they have opened in Estepona, which I've been dying to go and see actually. And all this passion, who'd have thought from an orchid could have you so enthralled and enthused?
But this is just one orchid story. I've just recorded 14 others, and they're all individual stories, and they're all different, and they're all, what? Are you serious? Clever stuff.
I mean, apparently from what the little I know, it is the largest group of family of flower is the orchid group.
30,000 varieties. Biggest. In fact, what we've got in the reason it's a funny shape, our orchid house in Estepona, is because we have in there 4 unique microclimates. So what we've got is basically orchids from a lot of different places in the world. That's why it's a weird shape, because we've got this facility, which gives us, I think we've got about 1,000 varieties in there.
Oh, quite fascinating.
And each one's got its own story.
It's definitely something we should go and visit. When it first opened, I think it was a bit difficult with the timetables. People went, it wasn't open. But these things do take time to get themselves going, find their niche.
Well, I'll introduce you to Manuel and he can show you around because
we should go with the cameras, undoubtedly.
Totally.
But you obviously have to give us the tour, James. I mean, have you ever seen such passion? Or it's like
I'm just an enthusiast because it's just interesting
stories. Maybe you should start an orchid fair or competition there, so people come from all around the world and bring their orchids and do a competition.
Once we've actually got, because the thing is, people go to the place now, they walk around, they see all these lovely orchids, and then they go. What have they got?
If they're not getting an explanation, as you're saying,
but
they're not understanding.
The stories are, what? Are you serious? This flower did this? So I've got all these stories. So people are going to go around and go out with a very different point of view. They're going to love the stories because they are fascinating.
They are, especially the way you tell them. It's the way you tell them. It's the way you tell them. But it really is. It's a delight. I mean, see the joy in your eyes. You're obviously enthused about it.
It's a buzz. It's great.
And learning something new.
And it's something
so unexpected.
very, very interesting. You know, I've learned all kinds of stuff. For instance, you know, about the fungi. They're amazing. Because do you know the fungi, actually, they've got this symbiosis with many plants. They actually congregate around the roots of plants, protecting from pathogens and also bringing the food that they need. But what is interesting, because the thing is, this network of tubes they've got covers, as you know, many, many hectares. And these tubes are just waiting. They get told by the plant what nutrients required. So there's
an actual selective process.
It's a selective process, and the thing is, the actual fungus then knows which tube is near whatever they want. But the fungus can't actually get it out of the soil. It's got a deal going with bacteria. Now bacteria, there's millions of different bacteria, and they all secrete a different enzyme. And the enzyme, I don't know if you know what an enzyme is, it's a bit of chemical that if you can actually use this chemical to do something chemical without it getting involved in the chemistry. So it's apart from it, right? And what it does, it liberates. So right, so I want some iron, right? So I tell the fungus, goes to where there's some iron, tells the bacteria gets the iron, puts it in the tube, comes back and gives it to me, man.
I wish we could learn from nature to do things as simply and as such a harmony as nature seems to work.
The natural world is unbelievable. Unbelievable.
And we're so busy being unnatural. It really is everything that we do.
Well, it's very
not here in the
unfortunate.
pharmacy though. Everything here is very natural, which is why it fits in perfectly. You should have your own biology show or something. I mean, really, this guy is just fascinating.
Well, there's a lot of stuff actually that we might meet again actually, because there's some interesting things around here. The Med, for instance, the beginning of the Med, that's a very interesting story, I'll tell you that one.
Well, I definitely think this is a character that we'd like to have more often on the show. No, really, James, it's an absolute pleasure to meet you, and anyone who does anything with such joy and enthusiasm makes it contagious. I can't wait to go now to visit the orchid.
Very good, and I'll take you to visit
Orchid House, Orchid Museum, Orchid, what is it, an orchid?
It's an orchid, well, it's basically what's different
Orchid House?
It is an orchid house, but the difference between most orchid houses and that one is that they're all living there forever. Normally, when you go to an orchid display, the flowering orchids put up, you see it, blah, 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 when it dies, off it goes, and they put another flowered one up. No, not there, because what they've got there is over 1,000 varieties. What they reckon is that there's at least 50 flowering at any one time. Because of course some of them only fly for a few hours. Well, you need that many.
So for a few hours, it's
a few hours a year. No, some of them are like that. Some of them are like that. Some of them fly for weeks, but a lot of them fly for a very short time.
Well,
so you've got to
part
plan.
of James, he will be back, I'm sure, and I will be
Probably.
very much looking forward to that. It's been absolutely fascinating, James.
Thank you very much.
Oh, thank you. Isn't that fun?
Thank you.
And informative.
Hey, hey.
Yeah, I'm here in Marbella, but it says here I'm in La Canada.
If you haven't mastered the lingo, don't worry. Linear Director has a free GPS geolocator service that will come and find you.
Hey, hey.
Yoga classes, fitness, pole dancing, health foods. Everything here is absolutely fabulous, especially the warm welcome you will receive from Roya and her team. The pharmacy is in the shopping centre El Capriccio. It's by that shop that says Sof As. Huh? Anyway, it's an easy way to identify it. Do come in, do take a look, come and meet the people, come and try the food and enjoy yourself. It's a perfect place to relax. We hope you've enjoyed the programme as well, that you will take care of yourselves, that you'll pick up your free copy of the Euro Weekly News tomorrow and check out my column, Marbella Moments. For now, hasta mañana. Take care of yourselves. Bye.
And as time flies by, you'll open